Are AI scams getting you into debt? Ted is here. Let's begin.
This is Debt Free in 30. Here's your host, Doug Hoyes.
Well, Ted, as you know, we generally record our podcasts in chronological order. Like we usually record on a Monday. The podcast comes out on Saturday, but I'm not sure when this podcast is exactly airing, but I think you've been gone for 2 episodes, in case you're wondering by the time it comes out. So welcome back. Everyone's wondering what happened to Ted. So today we're going to talk about scams.
This is not a how-do class.
No. This is not a how to do them. This is how to avoid them. We're not here to teach people to commit fraud. Scammers are becoming increasingly sophisticated. You probably know this. And they're using not only all the technology, but also emotional manipulation combined with some advanced AI techniques that we're going to talk about to dupe victims into making large financial decisions. And you know what happens when you spend a ton of money that you don't have? You get into debt.
Right.
And that's why we talk about debt on this show. So imagine getting a call from your grandchild. This is hard for you because I don't think you have a grandchild.
I'd better not.
Or maybe it's from your grandmother. Their voice is panicked. They're asking for money, or you get an email from your bank and it's so realistic, it fools you into giving away a bunch of money. This is not just made up stuff. This is actually happening.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is go through some different scams, and some of these people are going to go, oh yeah, I've heard of that. And others, it's going to be like, I never heard of that one. And I think by shining a light on them, we can hopefully help people go avoid them. So the first one is the granny scam.
Right.
And this has been going on for like forever. Not a new thing. So under the old version, you get a text from your grandchild saying, hey, granddad, grandma, I need some money. My car broke down. I'm away at college and I need money for a plane ticket, whatever
the reason is. Yep.
That was a text. That's how they used to do it. Well, now the new version is, because we've got, AI voice cloning technology, which is actually pretty simple to use. So now the scammer is actually phoning you and saying, hi, I'm your granddaughter. Can I have money? They tend to target the elderly.
Right.
Because I think the elderly would not expect that a computer can talk like my grandkid.
Let's just say they're less sophisticated.
Less sophisticated. Yeah, I think the elderly have more real-world experience. So if you were to come to their door, they'd go, okay, this is a scam.
Who are you? Right.
Who are you? But they're not quite as up to it on some of the other stuff. So what they do, of course, is they create a sense of urgency. Right? This is the emotional manipulation part of it. There's an emergency, it's a family member or whatever. And that emotional tug, it makes it a little harder to resist it.
Sure. And your defenses are naturally down too.
Yeah, it's my kid, my grandkid, whatever.
Yep.
And it works even better if the scammer has some kind of access to personal information, because that makes it that much more convincing. And so the victim, believing they're helping, they're often tricked into sending large sums of money immediately. And it's worse if they're tapping into credit cards or retirement savings or anything like that. And of course, anytime there's any emotional manipulation, you start making impulsive decisions.
Right.
And the consequence is, well, they drain your bank account and perhaps you end up with a bunch of debt. So what is your advice to someone who is potentially subject to, this kind of thing?
Well, so the first thing for everybody to consider is, I don't expect you to guess whether or not every text or every phone call is real, but just take a second to go, wait a minute. If it's, how do you describe this? If it sounds too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
Does it pass the smell test?
That's what we used to say. But if you're getting a call from somebody pretending to be your grandchild, I don't know how the smell test might be difficult.
That's really difficult.
Probably the simplest thing to do is to, all right, hang up that call and call the grandchild directly yourself, because they can't be piggybacking on the kid's cell phone. They're doing this from someplace else. They're creating the illusion of a problem. Ask the person that they're pretending to be, so that you're confident that you really are talking to that person.
Yeah, and that advice you're going to give a few more times as we go through this, because that's very good advice. But you're right. Like if I get a text okay, do I recognize the phone number?
Right.
Now, I'm not a texting guy.
And my children know not to text me because the odds of me answering are slim to none.
That's correct. And my kids are exactly the same because you send me an email. That's what I look at because I'm an old man.
Right.
But if you get a text, so in my phone, and you've seen this, I have 3 pictures, my wife and my 2 sons. Mm-hmm. Their phone numbers are programmed in.
I'm not in your phone?
You're not in my phone, sorry. I do not believe you have ever sent me a text.
You're not in my phone. I have never sent you a text.
We've been working together for 30 years. Neither one of us has ever said. Text didn't exist when we started working together.
Right.
So I know if it's coming from one of those 3 people, then their face pops up.
Right.
Other than that,
because it's coming from their phone as well, right?
Yeah. Other than that, I'm not going to know. Now, there's another part of this. So if you're going to do a scam, and again, this is not a how-to video,
right?
But if you were going to scam someone, you need to know as much about that person as possible.
Sure.
So if I'm going to pretend to be your granddaughter, I guess I have to know that you have a granddaughter.
Sure.
So how would I find out personal information about you so that I can then scam you?
Well, the simplest thing would be to send you some sort of fake survey.
That's a good one.
Right. So either text a link to a fake survey or call and say, hi, we're doing this. And could you answer some simple questions?
Now, of course, it would be kind of weird to have a survey. What is the name of your grandchild? But I guess the other thing I could do is see what you put on social media.
Yeah.
So if I look in your Facebook, whatever it's called.
Which I don't have.
Which I don't have either. Oh, well, I see that you've got a picture from Christmas with your kids. Okay, well, now I know you got kids.
Right.
So I think there's a lesson there too with keeping your personal information as personal as possible. Okay, now we get to the interesting stuff.
Right.
This one is, I find, fascinating. It is called the pig butchering scam.
All right, nice name.
It has nothing to do with pig butchering, but it's a type of online fraud where scammers build long-term relationships with victims,
right?
Often through things like social media or dating apps or messaging platforms. They kind of gain their trust before convincing them to invest money in fake schemes.
Right.
Often crypto.
There you go.
You're a huge crypto guy, so we know that's your favorite thing.
Mm-hmm.
The term comes from the idea of fattening up the victim like a pig with flattery, affection, or promises of wealth before slaughtering them by taking their money.
Gotcha.
So here's the pattern, and this is the long con.
Yep.
Okay. Remember that movie with Robert Redford where he was the con guy?
The Sting?
The Sting. There you go. I believe the last few episodes you have referenced movies.
I've been doing a lot of movie references
movies
lately.
From 30 years ago.
My teenagers are finally old enough to appreciate old films.
There you go. So yeah, The Sting was a long con.
Right.
That's what this is as well. It's not like I'm going to send you a text and pretend I'm your grandchild and you're going to send me money that time.
Right.
This will be something that will unfurl over perhaps many months. Mm-hmm. So it starts with the setup. So the scammer initiates contact with you and they, pretend they're either a friendly person or I'm a successful individual. I'm a business person. Yep. Maybe they're going to be a romantic interest, a business, whatever it is.
Right.
Offering some mentorship. And then they build trust. So again, it's over a long period of time. They nurture the relationship, regular communication. Hey, how you doing? Good to talk to you, whatever. Oh, by the way, I made $1 million in crypto last week. Oh, okay. That's interesting. And then they give you the pitch. I got this lucrative investment for you. Oh, this is a good one. And they will often go to the point of creating a fake website.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Do the whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah. And how hard is it to create a website?
Not very
hard. Like you and I can't do it, but we got people who are very good at it. So you put up a website that explains how this whole thing works.
And I assume they're doing this to more than one person at a time too. The more elaborate it gets, right?
Get some leverage. Yeah. If I'm going to create the website for you, I'm going to use it on other people. And then here's my impressive returns. Look at where I bought the crypto, and this is how much I made. And so then we say, look, why don't you just put in $100? Let's see how it goes.
And then you keep up there.
And just keep it going from there. And so then once you got them hooked, step 4 is the drain, where you pressure them. Okay, look, you made money on that $100. And if I was doing a scam, I'd get you to invest $100.
Yep.
And 2 weeks later, I'd pay you back $150. Look, you made 50%.
Which is what they do.
That's how it works. So the scammer, and again, you got your fake dashboards and everything to show how much money you're making. And then, of course, the final step, the old rug pull, the exit, where
Right.
you try to cash out all this money you put in.
And there's nothing there.
Oh, sorry, the platform's gone, the website's gone, we're out of there. And so again, this is, highly insidious because it's exploiting emotional vulnerability and so on. And often these people are not in Canada who are doing these things.
Of course not.
They're all over the place. Now, I said in the title that we're also talking about AI here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where AI can be used to personalize these scams a bit.
Right.
Gathering data, crafting the messages. Because if I'm having a text conversation back and forth with you, I start to learn a bit about you.
Right.
Great. The AI can now start tweaking the messaging
Mm-hmm.
to make it even more appealing to you. You like old movies. Oh, well, let's start talking about old movies.
Whatever it takes,
that sort
right?
of thing.
Yep.
And then they're crafting messages that are that much more insidious. So, okay, back to you. What am I supposed to do to protect myself from this kind of thing?
Well, so at any stage of this process, you can be questioning the validity or the veracity of anything that you're being told. So the setup, I guess, unless you're a suspicious person, somebody reaches out to you and they start trying to establish a relationship with you. I don't know how suspicious you need to be at this point. They're just trying to get to know who you are, right?
Yeah, someone wants to talk to you. I guess you talk to them.
Yeah, and the building trust is just an extension of that. It's when they make the pitch that you've got to be, okay, well, check original sources. They say this is working. Try to find some kind of verification independent of them that it really is real.
So I guess the first warning sign then is dollars.
At some point, they're going to ask for money.
Right. And so if someone's just being friendly with you, okay, well, it doesn't cost me anything. I'm
Right.
happy to chat. But so as soon as somebody is asking for money, that's when the alarm bells go off. And then so checking original sources. So, okay, I've got this great crypto trading strategy,
Mm-hmm.
and the whatever the coin is, it doubled last week.
Right.
How do you verify that? Like what are the kind of things you would do?
But they're able to use AI to trick you. You can probably use AI to dig into their background. Right. So you could simply, okay, tell me everything you can about this and what does it look like? And most of them are smart enough to say, oh, that's a typical AI scam of.
That's an excellent point. Use it against them.
Right.
So, and, I've got a bunch of different AIs that I use, and, everyone's got them now. There's some you pay $20 a month or whatever. Some are cheap or whatever. But that's an excellent point that, okay, so you've got this crypto coin that you've never heard of before.
Right.
And of course, you're getting in on the ground floor. That's why you've never heard of it.
And you're going to make a great return because you're getting in on the ground floor.
Well, okay, you can certainly look up what the price of that crypto is trading for and see the history.
Right.
And if you can't find it, it probably is a really sketchy one.
Right.
But I like the idea of using AI to research it and find out. Because you're right.
If they're using it against you, you might as well use it for you. Taking a gun to a knife fight, right?
Yeah. And obviously, it doesn't have to be AI. You can search on Google or anywhere else.
Well, and in fact, you'll do the search, and then maybe AI will be generated somehow because of your search.
Yeah. So, again, if it seems too good to be true, then it probably is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go a little farther down this path of AI-enhanced scams.
Okay.
So we've already talked about scammers using AI to create convincing digital messages.
Right.
And that's really easy.
Oh, it is.
So, you write a letter to someone. Well, you can take the letter, dump it into AI and say, hey, make this more compelling, make this more salesy, make it whatever. Right. And boom, and 10 seconds later, you've got it back. Obviously, they also make it convincing, not just by what they're saying, but who it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's coming from your bank or the government or whatever. And so one of the scams would be your bank emails you and says, hey, you owe a service charge or something. Right. Okay, that seems kind of weird that they would be sending me an email over that. But again, by crafting it with AI, it makes it a little more believable and harder to detect. And then next thing you know, you got way too much debt. Right. So let's talk a couple of these. The obvious one is phishing, or phishing. I guess it's pronounced phishing. It's spelled with a PH though.
Right.
Phishing emails. And so you receive an email that looks like the one you get from your bank, right, saying, oh, there's been some suspicious account activity. I believe we had that last week here, did we not?
Right, we did.
On a company credit card or something. Mm-hmm. Your account will be frozen unless you immediately pay a small security fee, or release fee, or transaction fee. And the email has your full name, it's got the bank logo, and it's got a link to the bank's website.
Yep.
Well, okay, but AI can use, the scammers can use AI to analyze public information, such as, you posted on Twitter complaining about your bank.
Right.
Oh, well, now I know what bank you're at. Or I know that you always go to that store because you've posted about that. And so then they take that information and craft a very realistic and personalized email. And again, we already talked about the fake websites.
Right.
Well, if you got AI and can create some fake websites, that's
Pretty easy
even
to
better.
do. Yep.
And then make it that much more urgent. And of course, the official look of the email and the urgency makes you click. So I think there's pretty obvious advice here to protect yourself from fake emails.
Right. So you just never click on a link in an email. Right?
End of story. Yeah.
Right. That's pretty simple.
Yeah. And so when your bank sends you an email like that, you go to the bank.
Right. Log into the app yourself, find out if there's some kind of messaging in the bank.
So, I mean, I guess there may be cases where somebody does send you a link. But in that case, I guess, well, if my buddy sent me this funny joke he wants me to watch on YouTube, I'm going to phone my buddy and say, was this actually you?
Yeah. And you can see it coming from your buddy's email address. You're probably okay.
Right.
Well, funny ones are where it's your buddy's name, but it's this email that makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Probably not real.
Yeah. And we've had lots of emails over the years come into Hoy's Michaelis here that were from Doug Hoy's.
Right.
But when you look at that's not Doug Hoy's.
That's right.
That clearly,
Why did you go to Thailand?
Yeah, what's going on here? So now the one that I think is scarier is the fake government penalty notices.
Yeah.
So the victim receives a text message claiming to be from CRA or some other agency. You've missed your filing deadline. You have an installment due.
Right.
You got to pay within 24 hours or else, bad things are going to happen. We're going to initiate legal action. And again, the AI can, automatically generate these types of messages and use all sorts of cute things to do it. And so it's like, oh, well, this is the government. So clearly this is legit.
It's got to be real.
So I'm going to, take the money off my credit card or send them to them. So again, is this as simple as what you just said on the previous one?
It is. The answer to all these is all pretty simple. It's, go directly to the source. Don't follow anything that's in the email or the text.
Now, one of the things that frustrates me about CRA is that they don't use emails.
They don't.
And you and I deal with this all the time because...
so you get an email now saying they posted something to your MyCRA account.
Right. So... that's a key point. So we deal with CRA all the time. You and I will be speaking to many agents this week, I'm sure.
Right.
Because we've got consumer proposals in progress and we've got to negotiate the settlement and so on. And I find it frustrating that the only way to communicate with them is either to send a fax.
Which has a 50% chance of getting lost.
Right. Because you're not sending it directly to that person. You're sending it to the portal somewhere and somebody has to distribute it. Yep. Or you leave them a voicemail message and hope that they get back to you in the appropriate time. Would you prefer if CRA actually used email?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that I would rely on it. I mean, what they're doing now is sending the email saying we've posted something to your online account. That makes a certain amount of sense to me.
So, and what you're referring to is the MyCRA account or your CRA online account. I assume your advice is that everyone should have one.
Yes, their life would be easier.
So, and it's not that hard to set up.
Nope.
The only complication is if you haven't filed your taxes in 10 years, then it's kind of hard to set it up.
Could have a problem, but
part of the verification is what amount did you put online, whatever, last year? Well, if you haven't filed your taxes, a little harder. But yes, I totally agree. I think everyone should have a MyCRA account because not only can you look and see all these notices, but when tax season comes around, which is kind of what it is now, as we record this, well, you can suck the data right from CRA into your tax return.
Right.
So to me, it's a no-brainer. So, okay, they send you an email that says we've posted something to your CRA account. If that email is from CRA, there's no link in it.
Correct.
That's the key.
Yep.
So log into CRA and you'll see if it's legit or not.
Similarly, you're never going to get an email from a bank or another kind of finance company saying, we think your account's been corrupted. Better send us your password. Or please log in following this, click on this link to test your system. They'll never do any of that.
That's just too obvious. So anything like that, you're going to call the original party or log into your site directly, not through any kind of links. Now, there's another one that is also insidious, and that's the old limited time offer. It's a limited time offer.
So it was long before AI. That one's out there.
Now, I'm sure you've experienced this. you and, one of your kids, your wife or something are talking about that new movie.
Sure.
I don't know what the new movie is, but
Whatever
you're talking
it
about
is.
that new movie.
Yep.
And then 10 minutes later, you're scrolling the internet and there's an ad for that movie or that
Amazing.
product or whatever. Amazing. Yep. So obviously the Google or whatever is listening and knows what you're talking about. And obviously they can see what websites you visited, your search history. If you're using Gmail, well, I'm sure they're reading all your mail.
Probably.
That's kind of the point, right? That's why it's free. So it wouldn't be that hard to take that data, run it through the old AI, and next thing you know, okay, Ted's interested in cars.
So we'll give them targeted messages to see if we can suck them in.
Right. Very highly targeted because we can zero right in. And it's not just from emails. They can look at your social media presences or whatever.
Right.
And again, if I'm crafting an ad like that, I'm going to put a testimonial or two in it.
Sure. Why not?
This other guy used the same thing. It's really wonderful. And reviews from satisfied customers. Like, how long would it take if you knew how to use computers and AI and everything to spin up a couple of hundred positive reviews? Sounds pretty easy to me.
Yep.
Like, how hard would that be? And so they're using the AI to do all this kind of stuff. And of course, next thing you know, boom, you kind of got pooched. So again, let's hammer this point home again. Yep. What are the approaches you should take when you're looking at an ad or something that seems too good to be true?
So again, if something's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. But you're always going to want to verify. Try to find some way that you can prove to yourself that this thing is real. And that means independently looking to other sources to verify that this thing is real.
So this ad you've received that's for, I don't know, something on Amazon or Temu or some other site, the answer is, okay, go directly to that site.
That's right. If Amazon's posting some kind of great offer to you, then when you go to their website, there'll be something there reinforcing that offer.
Okay. Now, a lot of ads you get are legitimate.
Sure.
So how do I distinguish between legitimate and illegitimate? Like, what are the red flags that I should be kind of conscious of?
So anything that's enticing you to do something immediately, or something that's just it's a little unusual. Why do I got to do it that quickly? That's probably a red flag. Anything that's not going directly to the source is a red flag. So it's Amazon's advertising this, but they want you to click on this link that takes you someplace else. Like, there are things that just make you go, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't look right.
Yeah, why would Amazon send me somewhere other than Amazon? That doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
And so if it is a limited time offer, and I understand that's kind of how marketing does, you got to create a sense of urgency or everything. How do you know if a limited time offer is truly a limited time offer and it's just fake?
And what's the time limit? So if the limited time offer is you got to do this in the next 15 minutes, well, forget it. Usually a limited time offer, expires on March the 15th.
Yeah, and I guess I can see reasons why there is a limited time offer. Like if I'm a tax preparer, well, the offer expires on April 30th because by then it's too late.
But if you're a tax provider, you're not going to say your offer expires in the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense. So if the timeline is way too short, then that's kind of a very suspicious sort of thing. What are your views on two-factor authentication? Is that a good idea? Is it overkill?
Well, it's annoying, but it certainly serves a purpose.
And I think everyone knows what 2FA is, but it's I log in, I put in my password, but then it says, oh, we're going to send a code to your email
or your phone or whatever.
Or you got to punch in on the thing and you get the code here or whatever. Right. So there are two different things you need to use to log in.
Yep.
And in order to get around that, I guess the person has to have access to your email or your phone or whatever.
Right.
The best kind of two-factor authentication, from what I understand, is there is a separate device involved. So, okay, you got to actually have my phone in order to be able to do that. Now, it's a pain in the butt, though.
It is.
So are there things where you go, okay, for my bank, I'm willing to have two-factor authentication because it's my own money, but for my magazine subscription, I don't care? Or
anytime you're paying for something, it makes sense now.
Or they have your payment details.
Right.
So even though you subscribe to that, I don't know, auto racing magazine that costs $5 a month, it's like, okay, it's $5. What do I care? Well, but if they've got your credit card on file,
they could be doing anything else anywhere,
and then you're completely toast. What about then the communication style as well? So when you read the email or the text, Is there a way to say, you know what, this doesn't really seem like it was written by a human being. This seems more like a AI thing.
If you think about it, is a bank ever going to send you anything too personal? They might use your name, but they're not going to talk about your family or anything like that. If you're at a credit card company, they're going to, well, again, how personal is a credit card company going to be?
Yeah, you don't get things from a bank in a friendly tone.
Right. It's just a polite, professional manner.
Hey, Ted, lovely day out there today. The sun is shining. That's probably probably totally fake. What do you think of having multiple different email addresses?
Oh.
So, I'm not sophisticated enough to be able to do that, but I know that there are people who say, okay, it's very easy to get multiple email addresses. Mm-hmm. So what they do is for every site they go on, they generate a separate email address.
Oh my gosh.
So it might be like they might be all I'll use the example of Gmail, but that's a bad example. But so they'll all be something at mail.com or whatever, but it'll be, Doug 127, Doug 348, Doug whatever, or it'll be, Doug New York Times, Doug Toronto Star, Doug Globe Mail. So I know where I use that email. And so then when I get a something back, now, of course, I guess I've got to be checking 50 different email portals.
Right. You have to keep a pretty long list of passwords in Texas.
But then it's like, oh, okay, I know where that is coming from.
Well, you know where it was sourced. You still don't know that it's actually coming from that place.
Right.
Because they could have been hacked.
Right. But if I get an email from, Doug@newspaper.com, and it's an email about a vacation in Florida, it's like, okay, wait a minute.
That makes no sense.
Why are they sending me that? And I think we're going, way down the rabbit hole because there's a balance here between security and real life.
Right.
So I guess you kind of have to decide how security conscious do I want to get? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I guess, yes, you could have a separate phone for everything you do.
I suppose you could.
47 different computers and all the rest of it. We're not advising that necessarily. But I guess the concluding comments are, one thing we didn't talk about was the whole credit report area.
Right.
If you get scammed and end up applying for debt you didn't know about, it'll probably show up on your credit report.
That's true.
So keeping an eye on your credit report isn't a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Well, as long as you're going directly to the source and you're not paying for it from one of these secondary sources. Well,
and I think pretty much every bank now has a built-in credit report as part of either the online app or the web app or the on your phone.
Yep.
So, okay, if once a month you take a look at that just to see if anything is a little bit different, you're probably okay. Okay, so concluding comments then. The most important thing, I think, because you said it like 57 times, is independent sources.
Right. Verify.
We could have done the whole show in one word.
We could have.
Verify. That's the key. So anything that is even just a little bit, you know what?
Well, even if something seems reasonable, there's nothing wrong with ever taking that step to make sure that the source is what it says it is.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. And obviously, you want to have your password protection and everything on your computer and all that stuff. But I think that's what it comes down to: is you got to be a bit skeptical.
Yeah, I mean, we say this on every one of our shows. It's the only one interested in your financial well-being is you. You got to take interest in your own affairs, and part of those is skepticism of what somebody's offering or presenting to you.
Yeah, trust but verify.
There you go.
We don't want you to be some cynical.
We have international arms negotiation. Trust
right.
but verify.
Trust but verify. That's the key. I think if you do that, then a lot of these problems go away. And let's face it, we're all in a new world here.
Right.
I'm not used to recognizing AI stuff because it hasn't been around my whole life. Hasn't been around for the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, now it's taken over.
And now it's taken over. Absolutely. Are we even real? That's I think the question for the people today. So what you want to do is obviously verify, but if you know a human being that you can call, probably one of your kids who's more sophisticated than we are, it's like, okay, I got this email. What do you think?
Right.
And hopefully by doing that, you kind of.
I mean, the real crime about all of this stuff, other than the fact that scamming is a crime, is it reduces your whole confidence,
faith in humanity,
in electronic communications. So this it was a revolution. It made things so much easier for so many people, so much better, but there's an ugly side to it.
Which is why perhaps every now and then you should go talk to a real human being.
There you go.
Face to face, kind of hard to scam you. So there you go. Be vigilant, trust but verify. And we just wanted to show you a few things that are out there. So hopefully that helped. If you're watching on YouTube, notification button, click whatever. Same with all the audio platforms. That way you'll get notified of every podcast every week. And there will be another one next week. But until then, thanks for listening and watching. I'm Doug Hoyes. That was Debt Free in 30.